Good evening. I want to say hello to the people at home as well that are live streaming in to be able to participate from home. I know of a few that definitely said they were going to be doing that, so I wanted to welcome them tonight as well. I'm really excited to share the Congo with you. It's something that you never really plan to do in your life, is to spend weeks at a time in a foreign country that is very, very foreign to what we most know. But you know, it's interesting. I was telling Pastor Jim earlier tonight that I never really learned about the word discernment and what that really meant until I was in an adult ladies' Bible study when I still lived in Western Pennsylvania. And so when it came to this trip this year, with all of the COVID that was going on and stuff, I kept really wanting to go. But I kept thinking, was it me that really wanted to go, or was God saying, you need to get back there? And so you start through the process of thinking, is it really me? Is it God? What are you going to do about it? And so what I started to do was, of course, we started praying about it, but I started taking the steps towards going. And I figured if it wasn't God's idea that I would go, that the door would shut. And it was so interesting because there's a lot, you have to have months of preparation to go for the paperwork. So you need to have papers that come from the Congo in French that you have to have for your visa. You have to have a yellow fever shot. And this was the year that my yellow fever shot stopped. And so I'm like, I call Dr. Oweiler's office. They can't get it. I call another, she gives me another name, and I'm not getting the shot. And finally, the last place I called was called Passport Health, and it was clear up north at the very tippy top of Delaware. And they had one. And so I had to make an appointment to get that shot, and it was like 10 days out before that was going to be available. That was really the only snag that I had. The interesting thing was that when I sent for the paperwork in Congo, I emailed the bishop's office there. And usually the other person I had to work with there took weeks. This guy had it back to me in email like in 3 days. So that was step one. I thought, well, I got my paperwork. Then I had to I decided to go ahead and work for getting the flights. And the flights were the cheapest I've ever had. And so that was pretty good. My daughter Jacqueline and I were able to get our schedule to work together so she could join us. That was another thing. But the coolest thing about it all was when it came to the visa, I was really nervous because sometimes it will take them weeks and weeks to get it back to you from the Washington, D.C. Democratic Republic of Congo, where the ambassador is. I sent it on a Monday afternoon, and I said where I shipped it from, I said I'd like to have it there by Wednesday. It has to go to D.C. And it left Monday afternoon here, and was back on my doorstep on Wednesday afternoon at 1:30. So then I thought, okay, God, we're ready to go. No, here we go. No question in my mind now, we're ready to roll. And so that was how the process went this year in trying to get back to Congo and deciding whether it was time to go or not. And I have to say that this trip was my 12th trip of going, and it probably was the most connected trip out of all 12 trips. I made connections with people all around the country that I visited, and so I'll be sharing a lot of that with you, but it was really, truly amazing how God was opening doors while I was there. So I'll start with the slides. So if you don't know where the Democratic Republic of Congo is, this is it. It's really big enough to fit in the United States from like the Mississippi River to the East Coast, up and down. It's pretty large. It's the second largest country in Africa. This was my daughter Jacqueline and Miriam and I, as we were pretty excited when we finally hit the plane. And we were on our way to Belgium. You fly to Belgium, and then from there you fly then to Congo. It's 2 about 9-hour flights. This time we had to have a COVID test when we arrived at the Belgian airport. To get into the country, we had to have the negative test. So we got that while we were there, which we ran all over because it seemed like nobody in the airport knew exactly where we were supposed to go. So it was kind of crazy, but we made it. And then we made it into Congo. And while we were in Congo, we had to have a COVID test for the girls to come home. When they left a week later, I had to have another test the same day they did to fly to another part of Congo. There's parts of Congo that have no COVID, and I was flying to one of those parts, and so I had to have the negative test to get there. So it was pretty cool. So we started our journey then with Miriam's Table, which is in Kinshasa. So you fly into Kinshasa, and we stay with our mission coordinator, Adolphe Yamba Yamba, and his family. His family was the last family that took care of Miriam for 7 months before we were there to get her for adoption. So she has become part of their family, and so when we go there, they really want us to stay with them. So it works out really, really well. So coming into Miriam's Table, there's us coming in, the children, the staff. Like I said, we hadn't been there since 2019, so it was a pretty exciting day. Lots of singing and chanting, and everybody exciting to see us. There we are, just singing the opening song. This is one of the men that have been with Miriam's Table from the very beginning, Papa Soda. It was pretty exciting to be back, to be able to be with them again. This is inside the building where we have where we serve the children. Now they'll come in, but it's because it's so crowded there. The building is smaller than we need to add on. But usually the weather's good, so they can take their bowl and go outside and sit. So we are actually feeding 3 times a day, because some of the children are going to school in the morning shift and some in the afternoon. So we feed early morning, we feed again twice in the afternoon. And that one of the reasons is also because of the size of the crowd. You know, with 350 children, it's a lot easier to manage if they come in groups. So that's the crowd outside getting ready for their food. And there they are sitting all around outside. The children are amazing because, you know, some of the young girls, and I think I have a picture here of one of the young girls, they'll come with babies on their back that they need to feed and feed themselves. And so they're probably 9 or 10 already carrying babies on their backs to feed. There she is. She would come every day we were there, and that little baby was always asleep. But she would sit down, take her off the back, and hold her while she would eat her meal. The government is now supplying bread to go with our food, so they get their bowl of what we call poto, and then they get some bread with that. I noticed most of the children will break the bread all up and stir it in, make a bigger meal out of it. This is my daughter Jacqueline holding one of the staff's little girls. Somebody in our group was always holding somebody. You know, Miriam or Jacqueline or myself always had somebody in our arms. I bought a new parachute that was smaller this year, and I took it to every village that I traveled to, which was quite a few villages when I went to the upcountry. And the children just are so much fun to watch with this. You know, they don't get this opportunity to play like this, and so we always have a lot of fun with it. The balls get quite a workout, and luckily a friend of mine sent a whole case of balls, so I've been using balls for a number of years. This time we even had 2 balls going at once. We played that, and we also played Duck, Duck, Goose. But they don't have a name for a goose there, so we play actually Chicken, Chicken, Duck. So their word is so-so for chicken and libada for duck. So we do so-so, so-so, libada. So that's how we play there. So after they got used to us coming, getting to Miriam's Table was quite difficult. It's sand from the time you turn off the main road. It's like sandy roads. So 4-wheel drive is a must, or motorcycle. So we had a 4-wheel drive car this time, but getting to Miriam's Table, there's like a lot of erosion that is like gigantic holes. So you have to kind of teeter your way around with the vehicle. And as we start down around, the children will start running, as you can see. They were hollering and running all the way up the road to meet us. And somebody took that picture, but you can see all the kids as we're hiking our way in. Just so much fun to. I just took a few pictures for you just to see how happy they are when we're there and to have the food. And you can see they look healthy. There is an occasional time when I'm there that they will bring a child that mother has been afraid to bring, who's really sick and dying. But we do have the program for the severely malnourished there. And so we have a nurse, and she will care for them. They get extra food and sometimes intravenous foods for a little bit, but we do have that capability. That slides out of order. So here we are on another day, and you can see the bowls of food along on the table, getting ready. The kids wait patiently. We always sing and pray. Sometimes the children themselves will get up and say a prayer. We also have church in this building. And every Sunday, the Methodist pastor comes from quite a distance. He comes, and he's young, and he shares a lot of things. And all of the staff actually belong to the church, and they do all the singing and stuff until the pastor gets there. The kids learned all this music, and it was a lot of fun on the Sunday we were there. So here they are. This is on Sunday morning as people still are coming in. The staff are doing their singing, and I don't know if you can see in the far back, little boy standing with the drum there. I'll show you some more kids playing drums a little bit later. But they start to sing as people still keep coming in. This is one of our staff ladies. This little baby's name is Susie. So then you can all participate in the dresses, which many people helped with the dresses, either the fabric or the sewing. So the ladies right away, when we opened the suitcases, found the dresses that would fit them. And you can see in the pictures they already have them on when they started to put the dresses on the little girls. We started with dresses, and we did it on Sunday after church because it wasn't so terribly crowded, so that we didn't, we don't have enough for every child. So doing on Sunday, we had enough dresses, and we need more shorts for next time, but we only had a couple of weeks to figure that out. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. The little girls would step up in there into that room one by one, and we had the dresses separated on the chairs by the sizes, and then we'd look at the child, and we'd go grab a dress and got them all fixed up. And there they are. Aren't they beautiful? So they're all over the place there. Some of them had actually, by the time we got everybody dressed, and the boys in the short, some of the girls they fold their dresses all back up after and they walk carefully with them back to their houses. You'll see them walking back with their dresses. Very cute. There they are. And there's the boys in their shorts. They like the shorts. And the ladies were having a lot of fun with their new dresses, and we've grown quite close when we're there. It's wonderful to be able to sit and visit with them a little bit. They all have families. I think the lady on my left, or to my right there, she has 6 or 7 children. And they live right there by where we are, just right up above Miriam's table. And then we took them new shirts this year. They like to have a uniform. They call it their uniform. So they like a uniform. So we got a new director. He is the tall man on, I don't know if you're left or right. Over here. He's our new director, and he's amazing. He's just quiet and calm and keeps good care of everything. We do have a little trouble sometimes with the spoons and the bowls disappearing. If you can imagine that, everybody gets excited and the kids just wander off, mostly with the spoons. So he's been like the spoon Nazi, trying to keep everything there. So then we moved on from the Miriam's table. Now, the Impasa nutrition area is where Miriam and I met. And we also feed the elderly there. So I spent this day with the elderly people, you can see, and they love a shirt as well. And so we took new shirts. I took new shirts this year for them. And they wanted not white, so I got pale blue this year. And so this is the ladies, and there are 68 people that come to pick up the food. They'll come to the nutrition center, and they get a bag of food that has frozen fish in one bag, and then rice and beans, and the government actually has a big chunk of cheese in there now, and then they take it home with them in the bags, and that gives them a few meals at home. So and if they can't make it that day, and we're getting to the point with we've lost a lot of people over the years at this age, and they'll deliver to them now. There's a wonderful lady in charge. And so they come, and when I'm there, they come inside, and we do a lot of singing and sharing, and I always like to ask them what God has done in their life for the years since I saw them, and we share. One time I spent like 3 days with them. They would come, and I took notes on all of the lives that they've, how did you end up in Impasa? Where were you born? Where are your children? And I was amazed at how many people had outlived their children. Their children were gone, their husbands were gone. But I have all their stories written down because, their faith is just amazing. They have amazing faith. They're resilient people. I wrote down in my prayer, on my prayer card, that I was so humbled by their generosity and amazed at the resilience of the harshness of their lives, how resilient they are, and how faithful they still are. It's really something to behold. There we are passing out the shirts. So the lady in the red skirt out there with me, she is the director of the program. She's the one that keeps the list to make sure that everybody's getting their food and getting it every week. We do it 3 times a month. This is when Jacqueline and Miriam and I arrived, and we were singing with the children before they were fed. Now, I want to tell you that you see all the white stuff up above there? They had taken plastic bags and cut them so that they looked like that. But guess what kind of bags they were? Obama. His face was on every bag. They really loved him, and they had his bags for years now. I've been going over there, and they have their plastic bags, and they have him hanging there amongst all of their pictures of Christ, So, see, Christ is painted on the walls, Obama hangs from the ceiling. So. And this was at Impasa where I met Miriam, and we were getting the bowls. The little girl beside Miriam is her best friend, Regine, and they always try to get together when she's there. And we're getting the bowls ready, and then we're serving. The children are always so sitting so well and waiting their turn. That always amazes me because they're hungry. There's Jacqueline with both arms going, trying to get food given out fast as we can. So there they are, eating their food. And again, this group of children and their games. And then this is the duck, duck, goose circle. So, libada. And unfortunately for me, they pick me and Miriam a lot. So we do a lot of running around in a circle. But it's always a lot of fun. And I get a couple of the staff to come out and join us, which is always a lot of fun to have them out there with us. There's Miriam. Look at her on the run. And as you can see, I can't catch her. But that's always a lot of fun with the kids. And my daughter Jacqueline decided to stay in the background there and do some cleanup with the dishes. And this lady that's working with her, I've known her from 2010. She was working there. She's been there all this time. She and another lady, at the same week, their husbands passed away. And so it's been really hard for them because they both still have, children. And so we try to do what we can to supplement their income when they're there. I had a wonderful friend. Ed and I have a wonderful friend who's from D.C., and she so generously gave me a sum of money to take, and she didn't want any of those women left out. She wanted me to be able to give money to all of the women or anybody that was in need, and so I had this money that I was able to offer so many people at so many moments during those 3 weeks. It was really, really wonderful. This man, his name is Innocent, and we have a program there called Life Skills, and what we're trying to do is teach young women and men some skills to be able to start their own business and start to have an income of their own, because what we want to try to do is get the people to become self-sustaining. And even our mission work that we do, all of the programs that we have, we work in that direction, trying to do that. It's really hard with the nutrition programs, but with other programs. So if you can look around the room there, he's got all these charts of Congolese dresses. You see the charts and different styles that they can make. He teaches sewing skills, also tie-dyeing of fabric that they can sell, and also making soap in a container to sell soap. So it's, these are the people that have been taking the program. They will graduate. There's 23 of them that's going to graduate in December from the program, and we'll be trying to place them and getting them set up in a business. Excuse me. So here they're tying the fabric, and he teaches them how to make the different designs. So here they're practicing how to tie up the fabric and see the design when it's done. So they're making all these little ball things. And so when I was there, they were doing these fabrics that they made. These were white cloths when they started. And they do it right there on the ground. I was playing with the children in the far over there while they were doing all this over here. And the fabrics were just so beautiful. There, look how cool that is. So it's just the way that they tie it and the way they dip it that makes the different colors. This is them. And so in Congo, as you know, the electricity is not much. And when they do have electricity, it comes and goes a lot. So a Singer sewing machine still makes a sewing machine for them that has a handle here and also a treadle. And then we usually try to get them one embroidery machine, and they take it to a place where there is electricity, or when they actually have electricity there, they can actually do all of the decorating stuff on the fabrics. So they do make beautiful things. There they are learning. And in the big room where we feed the children, they'll lay the fabric out to cut it. So at the end of the day that we were in Pasa, the girls were leaving to come back to the United States, and I was leaving the next morning to fly to the upcountry, where I was going to be seeing a lot more of the missions. So there. So I'm only going to show you a short piece of this video, but it's not playing. But I wanted you to see the fanfare that happens when somebody comes. They expected me to come, so this is what they were ready and waiting. After we landed in the airport, they got in place. The man in the front with the United Methodist Cross and Flame is the district superintendent for the city of Vientiane, or the village of Vientiane.
Welcome. Welcome.
He only knows a few English words, and welcome was one of them. That lady that's the United Methodist Women's Choir. They're all dressed alike. That's an honor when they do that. It's a little bit shocking, but they're honoring your arrival when she does that. Anyway, so it's always a lot of fun. Then we went and they had like this arch of palm branches as you go through and stand at the steps of the guest house and pray together. So one of the programs that we have in Dienganga that I went to the very next morning is called the Mamatola Secondary School. And it started out as a girls' school many years ago, and now there are boys that come mostly for the technology portion of the school. And I was pretty excited because I actually got some time to just go into the classroom. Because usually when you come, they do so much singing for you and performance things that, sometimes you don't get to really see. So while I was there this time, this was one of those times where I really felt like I was connecting with who they really were as people. And so I went into the classroom and interviewed some of the girls, and I was just taken aback, I guess, because after talking with them, and my question to them was, and I'll show you a clip of that, but was, what do you love the most about being able to come to school? What's your favorite subject? And what do you want to do when you graduate? And they have the same aspirations as our children here. The young girl who's taking French lessons there wants to go on to university and learn more French so she can teach or be an interpreter. And here we are in a school where there's so little, but the teachers are so dedicated. They get like $10 a month to teach. So the dedication for that, and to be able to plant in these young children that aspiration like that is just really, truly God and what he's doing. So they were waiting when we arrived the next morning for us with all, and here's the singing. And I decided to dance with them. They got the giggling so hard they couldn't even dance. So. And then the DS decides to join me. So this is, her actual name is Mami, and she is the director of the school. You can see the sewing machines because they teach sewing as one of the classes there. They have the regular, math. And when I arrived, they had all the teachers were lined up to share with me what they were teaching in the school. And they have a lot of teachers that are teaching, the math. And they have computer training, but it's mostly just, they don't have computers. Again, they got broken, and so we're trying to figure out ways to get them, another set of some computers to be able to do. We usually take these really nicely refurbished ones, but they're hard to get now since COVID. But anyway, the sewing machines are all set up there nicely, and they can always use more because sometimes there's 4 or 5 girls to each machine. But, they make it work. She's showing me all the beautiful things they make. This is the little girl, one of the girls I interviewed. So tell me, what is your favorite thing about coming to school?
Français.
She likes French.
Okay. And what is she going to do by learning this French? How does it help her?
Français.
Parce que l'école nationale, to
French is a national language.
ayo kimania da option amayo moyela e konjela na français.
It will help me so much because when we're finishing in Mamatola school, I will go to university for.
And one of the other girls wanted to be a doctor because she really loved the classes about anatomy. And another girl wanted to be a seamstress and start her own business. So there were lots of aspirations. So one of the days, the director and I had planned to do an evening playing time with them, but we had a really, out of the time, it's the dry season, but we had this crazy storm that came up. While we were on motorcycles trying to travel somewhere, I will tell you, we had to turn around and come back. But anyway, so we played one day when they were coming from worship. We stopped and played for like an hour outside. So here we are, and the girls started to show me some of the games they play. Stirring up the dust, we were. So we left there and then we went over to the trade school. Now the trade school is a program where they have mostly young men who are learning carpentry skills, masonry skills, technology. I think those are the three major ones that they have, and they do it, in a number of years. Currently, I'm trying to raise money through some carpenters for some toolboxes because they can't get the tools they need to do their jobs. And so I found also while I was there's a dormitory for the young boys that come to an elementary school, and they come from faraway villages, so they need to stay. But the dormitory is in really bad disrepair, and so my idea was to get the trade school the tools they need and have them repair the building as one of their projects. So that's my extra project to work on right now, to find, enough toolboxes. But my idea was for them to earn their toolboxes as they're going to school. You give them the toolbox at the beginning, and as they finish the courses, they could earn the tools, so when they graduate, they would have their own box of tools. So that was kind of Ed's idea, and he's been helping me put together the ideas of what tools they have to be able to do what they need to do. So I think it's kind of exciting to see what could happen. And each of the programs that I went to, I sat down and we reviewed the importance of budgeting, because the Congo Partnership provides them with certain fundings, and we need to send a budget report to us so that we know how the money's being used and if it's enough, or how we can adjust our monies for them. So I'm sitting down with the director and the other men there to explain the budget constraints that we need. The trade school's been struggling a little bit. They've had a change in directorship. So, and you can see their classrooms need some work, and so as a trade school, I'm saying to them, cement your floors, make it a project. Don't be on the dirt floor, fix it with a project. So that's the masonry room right there. He's got all the bricks sitting there, but I try and explain to them how they need to fix up their building, but they can do it themselves. They were looking at some of the tools that they had. And one of the greatest programs that we have there is our agricultural program in Dianganga. It's turned into a huge farm. They have the cattle to be able to use plows and plow the fields. They have about 4,000 pineapple plants now. And did you know only one pineapple grows on each plant? And they're little tiny like this. If it takes 6 months, you get 2 pineapples a year per plant. So it's kind of interesting how long it really takes. But you've never had pineapple like you have in Dianganga. I'm just saying it just kind of runs out your mouth. There's so much juice because they're fresh cut. So there we are with all the men that work at the farm. And we had some baby goats and some baby pigs. One of the things that the director has learned is which animals they can make money on and which animals they need less of. Now, we also taught them, they did not know that you could use the goat's milk for newborn babies that need the extra nutrition, and so they only ever use the goats for the meat, but we were explaining to them about how to milk the goat and use that, so they actually do that now. And the cattle are looking good, everybody working hard here. We bought some grinders because they can grind the seeds that they have. They grind them into meal, and then they can sell it that way. They used to have to drive all their stuff into Loja, which is like a 12-kilometer ride. So now they can do it right there and be able to sell by go to the market without having to grind someplace else. So that's great. And the solar was not working, so there wasn't any water in there. You can see my hands like this. I'm saying, I'm not happy there's no water here for these animals. And then we got water. Because when it's cloudy like it was for several days, the solar panels don't work. And so the pump wasn't working to pump the water into there. So I said you need to carry it if you can't get it there because they have to have the water. So there's some of our plants. This is the Manioc plant. Manioc is probably the biggest crop that is grown in Congo, and they eat all of it, the leaves, the roots, and it's a plant. It's very hardy. It can stand up to all kinds of weather and all kinds of insects, and they use it. The leaves part is they cook it up. It looks like spinach, and they put little spices on it. They serve it over their rice, so they do get a lot of vitamins and minerals from there. There they are getting ready for market. The next program that the farm has also is a fish farm. So they've got 3 ponds. I just took a picture of this one pond because it looked so pretty that morning we were down there. It's way down the hill. You have to travel all the way down to the river. And then they have these 3 ponds, and so they start with the smaller fish. And then they let some of the water out, and they move those to the next pond and then to the bigger pond so the fish can grow. And then they get them out of there when they're older, and then they can go to market with them. They've hired a man who stays there all night so that nobody is stealing the fish. And so this time they were showing me the buckets of the different sizes of fish and how they move them, and then they got the big ones. So their Independence Day is June the 30th, and so they actually had enough fish to be able to take into market and sell to a big market there, and they will do the same at Christmas time. It takes about 2 years for a fish program to start producing so that they can actually make money. If they're into the end of their first year. So, and this guy in the yellow shirt is our director there, and he's just been done amazing things with them. I think this program that I'm standing here with right now, it's called the Mamatola Social Program, and it's for the young women who have become pregnant when they're young, and the program has teachers, and they teach how to raise a family, how to have a clean environment at home, how to clean, how to sew, how to cook. And they do all these programs with all these young girls. And I was just totally impressed with all the things that they were doing with them. And they started their own program to sell baked goods and also to sell sewing projects. So they got fabric, and they've been doing that. So here's the teachers. These are the ladies that made this dress that I'm wearing. The teachers, and they were sharing with me all the different courses that they teach. The nurse teaches a health course talking about, that you should take care of your health before it gets bad, that you need to do things right the first time and don't wait to be sick to take care of it. And you can see one of the young moms there with her baby that comes to the program. There was a lady due to have her baby any day when we were there. So, and these are some of the projects that they have made. And like I said, they start, with something simple, and then they keep adding to it till they're making beautiful things like this. For their family, sometimes they'll be doing it for their family. And then I kept getting gifts. As I said, I was so humbled. And these young girls gave me, you can see that blue thing is full of baked biscuit things. There's eggs from their chickens and some rice there, and then I'm holding the live chicken. That was my first time to hold the live chicken. I wasn't exactly sure. When they hand it to you and the legs are warm, it kind of feels yucky. I had to kind of get used to it because from the 3 weeks that I was there, I got 11 live chickens given to me, so I had a lot of practice. And one more live goat. I got another live goat this time. Well, the goat actually went with me to the next village because we were visiting Adolphe standing there in the light blue shirt. We went to his village, and I took the goat with me. And they just tie them on the top of the car. It's no big deal to them. They tie them up there with the chickens. And the chickens I gave back to the place where I was staying, to the guest house, and I said, you can fix them and use them, because I kept coming back with them. But anyway, the goat then was going to live. She wasn't going to be eaten. She was pregnant, and so she'll be living at Adolphe's village with his family and having more babies. So she made it there. And this was the day they gave me the dress, and so we were getting our picture taken. They made me put it on as soon as they handed it to me. They took me in the room and made me put the dress on. And amazingly, their clothes always fit perfectly, and they never measure me. So never. And this is the district superintendent, and they were actually having a revival while I was there, and it went on till late at night. You could hear the singing all over the village. And this is the man who was the evangelist there. And then these ladies are from the District United Methodist Women. When I was there, they met, the women, the men, all the people from the district level met together because they felt that I needed to have a name in Otitela, which is the language that we speak in Diangenga, in all of the upcountry there. And so they all met together, and this is when they came to tell me what my new name was going to be. So I'll tell you when they're done singing here. Where'd it go? It disappeared. Well, they were singing. Anyway, my name, when the district superintendent explained it to me, how they went through it, they said every time they talked about me, it all came back to one word. And the word was that everything I was doing there was with love. And so this was the cloth, and my name is Mama Nganji, which means mother love. This is one of those embroidery things I was telling you about when they used the embroidery machine. So that was really special. Okay, let's see where we are now. Something's happened. Mr. Technology. Oh, okay, good. Not me. I thought it would be me for sure. So the next part of the you're going to see is we were traveling to the day that we got rained out. We came back, changed clothes, and I had the pink skirt on for the afternoon to see the Mamatola school. And so on Saturday morning, then, we left to go back to this village. Now, you can't get to this village unless you're on foot or motorcycle or bicycle. You can't get there by car. And there's a little medical center there that the United Methodist people from Diangenga put together in this little place. And so we were going there. It was 12 kilometers by motorcycle. And so I wanted to just show you a little bit of the roads that we took to get there. That's kind of interesting. Now, there were 3 of us on the motorcycles almost always, on my motorcycle. The pictures you'll see are him not on the back behind me because he didn't want to jump off to take photographs. But it was quite an adventure, and I think I might have mentioned it at one of the services when I was sharing was, if you remember the movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, this travel was like that in the upcountry. It was more like planes and motorcycles and cars and the plane coming home. Our plane the small plane that brings us from Diangenga back to Kinshasa got canceled, which happens all the time. So you're sort of stuck without a way home, and they just say, well, maybe tomorrow or maybe Monday. So that was supposed to be Thursday, and I really didn't have till Monday because I was flying back to the United States on Tuesday, and I had a lot of things to do in Kinshasa. And so I was sort of in tears a little bit that morning when they said that the plane wasn't going. Well, then about, I don't know, an hour later, a guy comes in by motorcycle, and he says, we got you on the cargo plane. I'm like, oh, good. You know, I'm excited I'm getting on some plane. But coming home then, we flew home with live goats. And I showed my sister the picture, and she said, well, why are they bagged? I said, because they might go to the bathroom on our suitcases. So they had these big feed bags tied around the back of the goats as we flew home. And so we were in there with, all of the seeds and all that. So these are the women who came to tell me about my name. And they came bearing chicken there, as you can see, and fresh papaya. And I think this is their song, I think. And they were singing in English. You are wonderful, O Lord. Their voices are just beautiful. So we were having a prayer there. And then she presented me with the cloth. Okay, so here we are on the motorcycle. This is the guy sitting behind me taking our photograph as we're going down the hill. And this is us coming up the hill. I said, bravo, we made it. So here we are coming down another hill. So here's a little medical center that we were trying to get to. It's kind of in the middle, of, like I said, of some villages that you can't get to only by foot, but it's between two places that don't get along. So they decided to put it here because they're two tribes. So they still have tribal differences, not warlike stuff, but they just, they don't get along that well. But they put the little medical center in, and now they're, starting to come at the same time with other opposite tribes. So I think, God has a plan there, to bring them together for, at least for the medical things. And so they were waiting there. It needs some more cement on the floors and everything. This young lady was getting ready to have a baby. And Adolphe is a medical doctor who specializes in maternity care and mother and child health. So he decided to check her while we were there. And so they have the mattresses, but that were donated from another medical center that the partnership had bought. But they have to build more frames for beds. But that little boy was sick, and so they were there. So then we gather for the photographs, and this time they wanted with the children, then with all the men, then with all the women. So we were having a lot of fun photographs. And these were our gifts that we had to take home on motorcycles. So needless to say, we couldn't take the bananas because they're all still like that on a tree. But we took some, and then the plantains some, and we strapped them. You can see a little strap on there. They put some bags on them, and we managed to get quite a few of the things home, the papayas and everything, on the 4 motorcycles that went. And this I just had to take and show because this is, the way they get around in the villages with things, trying to get from place to place to do what they need to do. They're so, ingenious. So then after we went to the medical center, the 12 kilometers out and 12 back, we got into the car. And we were 7 hours in the car on roads like this. And they always keep me in the front, but I was holding the dashboard most of the time because we're kind of doing a thing like this. And I had this stopwatch on. So when I got there 7 hours later, I looked at this when I was getting ready for bed, and I started laughing because it was over 27,000 steps. And I hadn't been out of the car in 7 hours, so it was pretty funny that it had kept on every time we were bumping. It was counting another step. So when we arrive to the river when we're traveling, then we have to get across the river, and they have this hand ferry. So you can see the big boom that goes across, and then we drive onto the ferry right there and go across, and they do it by hand with cables to get you across. What is in that water? Little boys. No, actually it's good. It's not too bad. There was a whole bunch of little boys playing on the other side over there. Yeah, it's not too bad. And then it got dark, and the roads were getting rougher. And they decided after we stopped in Shumbe, we had to stop at little villages on our way to the final village because we're doing freshwater wells. And so we're stopping in the villages. And we got to Shumbe a little late, so we were going to stop and see them when we came back through 2 days later. But it got really dark, but they decided after we left Shumbe, they wanted to take the shortcut. Now, it was not good. This is the shortcut. And the shortcut, now luckily, we have an extra driver, and he actually had a pick and a shovel in the car. Thank goodness, because as you can see, we couldn't drive down that because it was way too deeply rutted. So we crawled out, and we're standing at the bottom while they kept working to get us on there. But we made it. Actually, the DS came by from Wemboyama. He came to find us because he was worried because it was getting so late. And people were waiting for us to arrive in Wemboyama. So I figured by the time we got there, it was almost 8 o'clock at night. Of course, very dark. It gets dark at 6. Because you're at the equator, you got your 6 hours, from 6 to 6. And they were still waiting, and they were there when we arrived with all the singing. This was on the porch of the guest house I was staying in. So we did a little dancing. The necklace I'm wearing was Linnell Hearn, her cross necklaces that she makes. We wore And then we gifted them at the end of the trip. Miriam and Jacqueline and I each had one. So we had fun. And so we were gifted with, I got a new dress, and Adolphe got the matching shirt, and we wore them to church that morning in Wemboyama. The church service goes on for 3 hours. Like, I think I may have mentioned that when I was speaking briefly at church, but it's just amazing because it never seems like 3 hours. There's like an hour of praise and worship just goes on, and you just are there, and you're so into it that you're not even thinking that, man, is this ever going to be over? You just don't think that because it's just so full of God's power in everything you're doing. And they sing and dance for everything. They sing and dance to give their, they dance all the way up to give their offerings. They dance back. The children, you can see the children here dancing. The choir in the back all has matching choir dresses on. This is the United Methodist Church, called the Francophone Church. And I think, I got a chicken from them at the end. And these are ladies coming up for offering. And they do it, women do the offering, men do the offering, youth do the offering. They have a basket for each one. And this was really fun. I just wanted to put this in here because they were showing their instruments, and this is how they made their homemade drum set. And so they said they were going to try to raise money for a real drum set. And they announced it that Sunday because they had already raised money and have the speaker system, which, by the way, they use really loudly. And so they started holding up the drum thing, and people started saying, I'm going to give money, I'm going to give money, like right there. So I gave money, and everybody's cheering for everybody giving money. And by the end of the service, they had their $500 from all the people. So it was really a lot of fun. I was amazed by it. So when I go back next summer, I'll be able to see the new drums. And this, we decided after church then to go ahead and go to the village. In 2019, when I was sharing with you about going to the Wemboyama hospital, and there was a little boy named Rene was in the hospital dying of typhoid fever. He had come to Wemboyama. They did surgery on his intestines because typhoid fever will, once you have it in your system, it will eat holes into your intestines. And so they had given him some surgery, and he actually lived probably about 3 more weeks after I left. But he passed away, and so when I shared that at my home church back in western Pennsylvania where I grew up, one of the men there that's a good friend of ours asked me how much it would be to drill a well. He gave us the money to drill a well in Renee's village. And so after right here, I'm dressed and ready to go and get on the motorcycle. It was 27 kilometers to the village. And they were, the DS had already told them we were coming at some point, and so again, they were waiting for us, so we had a really great time of sharing. But here's the children that live near the guest house playing. So I was just waiting for them to come back with the motorcycles. So this was a picture of Renee. I wanted just to remind you of what it's like when they get really ill from typhoid fever, and why the freshwater wells are just so important. And raising the funds for them is just really an important part of what the Congo Partnership is doing. So here we are getting ready to go on another motorcycle trip. The man who's driving my motorcycle is part of the Children's Ministries program that we have there, and you'll see him in action in another couple slides. But the Children's Ministry program was started, I think it was 2011, with like 10 teachers. Now they have 39 locations in all the villages with at least 50 children in every one. They meet every Wednesday and Sunday, and for an hour, and they do, and I'll show you a little bit of one of the plays, but they made sock puppets, they do all this fun, amazing children's stuff, and this young man is one of the teachers at one of the programs, and since they meet on Sundays, we got to stop on our way to the village. So here they are, there's the young boys with the drums, and there he is, teaching them how to one of the songs that they sing. They were showing us how they sing. So here we go. Supposed to be singing. Stopped again. But oh, the children, they just know all the music. They know all the songs about Jesus and what he does for them in their lives, and they're just so excited. And it's just an amazing program that just keeps growing and growing. And they have a film that is done in Untitled. It's the film about the life of Christ and coming to know Jesus. And we bought them a projector and now a battery and a solar panel that they can take it to all the different villages to share. So it's pretty cool. Oh, 1 minute? Okay. Time out. And so they'll be getting the battery here pretty soon so they can show to a lot more children about that. And I mean, like I said, they have so much ingenuity to think up, taking a battery, hooking it up to a solar panel sitting on the ground, hooking that to the projector, and being able to show the children a movie about Jesus in their language. It's pretty cool. Just hang up a sheet somewhere and do it. Does anybody have any questions while we're waiting? Because I certainly would have time to answer if anybody can think of something. Yes?
At Miriam's table,
Mm-hmm.
the children get 3 meals a day?
Mm-mm. They get one.
And it's always the same food?
Mostly always the same food. Sometimes we do rice and beans. The food that we give them has enough nutrition and minerals for a full day's nutrition. So that if that is the only meal, and it might be the only meal they get that day, they've had enough body nutrition to keep them healthy. They might still be hungry at some point in the day, but at least they're going to be healthy. We're singing about Jesus, and they're so fun. So here we are driving into Renee's village. It's called we went to Jala. Well, Jala was one other one. I can't remember exactly this village name. It's escaped me for the moment. But anyway, they've got these awesome drummers waiting for us and all the people. As we started into the village, people were all along from a distance, and you can still, if you see in the background, you can see people still coming. So, they're singing Yayo, which means welcome, welcome, welcome. So it's funny because at first the children are afraid to touch me because I'm white. I'm not the color they're. I may have been the first white person they've ever seen. I know I did travel into one village who had never had a white person visit before. So, but then they get so that they want to touch, and then as soon as one touches, then they're all okay to take your hand, and then they're all kind of around you. So this lady right here is the grandmother of Renee, who passed away, that I showed you in the photograph. And she came up to share with how much it means to that village that we're going to come there and dig a well. And so then we went outside to the place where the well will actually be dug, which it should be dug within the next 2 months. And I was just doing like a pretend thing to say this is where it's going to be. So we had a prayer time there and shared. Then I got to play the drum. I got another chicken. Actually, there's 2 chickens there, and before we left, we got 2 more chickens, and we were on motorcycles again. This was the first time we had the live chickens and motorcycles, but they just take them and hang them on the handlebars. And so there was like chickens, and then as you see, we have bowls of rice and other grain there, so we had to pour those into bags. We got some pineapples. So everybody had straps on the back of their motorcycles to be able to get things back home. But it's like I said, it's so humbling because they're giving stuff that they really need. It's really from their hearts, and it's really touching. And then we got back to Wimbo, and I was having a meeting with the directors of that, and also with the well committee. And when we were finished, had no idea that all these children were outside waiting. I knew we were going to see them, but I didn't know they were going to be there. They didn't make a sound. Look how many kids there are. So we walk out. They're singing. So it's just like so amazing when we walked out there and saw all those people. Okay, so they made these little sock puppets at one of their activities days at the children's ministry, and they're doing the play about Adam and Eve. So this part that you're going to see is Eve and the snake, and how Eve takes some to eat, and then she goes across and talks to Adam, and you can see how they hide themselves after. It's pretty cute. And they're all memorized. They're hiding from the Lord. I thought that was so funny. It was so cute. The children's ministry was trying to find a way that they could have some income of their own, so they started a pharmacy business, and they have this darling little building that they've painted and put things on the outside, and so they sell medicines, but they also will help provide medicines at their pharmacy for children and families who can't afford that are in their ministry. So they do that. And one of the reasons they wanted to raise money is because there were some children in their program who had become orphans. And there were people, other families that wanted to care for them. So they're trying to raise money to help pay for the families who are caring for the orphans. So it's amazing how they can think of that. So we decided to take just one night off from the regular travel, and we went to Adolph's village. This is where I took the goat. And I just thought this was such a cool picture, because this is the road that we're going to follow to get up there, and that is Adolph's nephew on the motorcycle showing us the way there. And so Adolph's family was so excited. This is the village that we went to that never had a white person, so you can imagine how everybody around this family was coming to see us. This is Adolph's oldest brother. He is now the head of the family, and they have a lot of things that they follow. I can't think of the word. What am I looking for? Ancestor things that they do. Traditions, excuse me. Yes, they have all these traditions, and so he has taken over as head of the family, still living in the original village where they were raised as children. Their father had 4 wives and 44 children. So Adolph has that large of a family, so you can imagine when we come to visit, and a lot of them still live there, there's a lot of people. So all these children are somehow related to all these brothers and sisters. And so we had a really good time playing games after we had our meal with them. And so then these drummers came because we were going to have a traditional family fire that night. And when you have a family fire, you build a large fire, and the family sits around the fire, and the brother would tell stories, ancestral stories, so that people in other generations will learn the story of the family. And then they will also tell stories with morals and things around the fire. And so we had the traditional dancing time first, and we were doing the dancing, and then we went around back to have the fire, which was really, really, really fun. The women were singing. You can see the brother there. I really wished I had had some like marshmallows and teach them how to make s'mores, you know? It would have been so cool. And the children they were crawling up, and by the time the fire was over, those two kids were asleep on my lap. And so then we left, and there we are on the cargo plane, which, like I said, it was a little exciting to figure out how we were going to. And we were all set to go on the cargo plane. We had to pay an extra $150, believe it or not, extra $150 to ride like this. And while we were there, we were the only ones going to be on the plane, and all of a sudden, this car comes blowing into this little airport with all their lights flashing and everything, and it was the governor, and he wanted on that plane with his 5 people. And so then they told us we couldn't go, you know. So, you know, we did some negotiating the way you do in Congo. You negotiate for most everything. And somehow we made it on the plane. At first they said I could go without Adolphe, but I can't go without Adolphe because he's my interpreter. What am I going to do without him, you know? And I couldn't travel without him. So there's our goats, our bagged goats. So this was the setting sun when I was in Wemboyama. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" And I said, "Here I am, send me." So, thank you. Thank you. I did want to share about this painting that you see here. While I was in Kinshasa, I visited a couple orphanages. The man who was doing the life skills program, his name is Innocent. He also runs the orphanages, 15 orphanages throughout the city of Kinshasa. The orphanage that I visited here was the older children. Then most of these children are just found on the streets, and then they come and they teach them, you know, things and skills there, and then they wait till they get to 18 when they're 20, they set them up in groups in homes to try to, you know, they have to get a job and do all the things, but then they monitor them even after they're out of there. Anyway, this young boy, 17, painted this amazing picture. And Innocent had put it online and on Facebook, and I said, "I want the painting. I'll be there in July." And he said he would save it for me. And I didn't know it was this big, but it's so beautiful on our wall. It's perfect. But interestingly enough, they don't have canvas there. But if you see the back, it's painted on like upholstery fabric. And so when I got there was no way I could bring it home that way, so we deframed it and just rolled it up, and I hand carried it on the plane to get it home, and then Ed reframed it. But there's a lot going on here. This boy is so talented, and I said to him, "You have to keep painting," because he doesn't know how much talent he has. And so I just thought this was amazing, and I'm so thrilled to share it. And people say, "Well, how can I buy his paintings?" But Congo is not set up for you to be able to. You can't ship anything there. If I want to send an envelope, it's $250. DHL is the only way you can get it there. So it's really difficult. I take everything in suitcases when I go each year. We usually have 7 or 8 suitcases when we go with different things in them, you know. But I would love to bring paintings home for people, but it's pretty difficult. The other things on the table are things that I bought they have markets there, and you can buy, you can come and look at this beautiful lady statue that I have here. Also a nativity set that I have. And this was given to me by people in Kinshasa years ago because they said I was like a mother feeding their children, and so they gave me this picture of the mom and the baby together. So, any questions? Yes? The fabrics are actually made in Congo. I mean, they actually have a factory there. And I did notice that the Chinese people sort of moved into Congo to do some road systems and stuff for them, and I see some fabrics now that are coming from there. You can buy 6 yards of fabric for $10. So you can do it. But the women I don't know if people buy it and give it to them so they can make them something. I mean, that's how I get mine made. But I tell you, you'd be amazed at how they make or where they're making them. At the market you'll see people under the trees, sitting under a tree with their machine because they don't have to have electricity, and they have the fabric going like this. And they'll hang stuff out. They'll make it and hang it out, and then somebody will come by and buy it. But if you are downtown in Kinshasa, I go to what I call the Fabric Street, and there are women that come across from Brazzaville, the other Congo. They come across the river, and they have just thousands of pieces of fabric hanging over top of pieces of wood. And you just kind of can go and walk through and pick what you want. It ranges from $10 to about $15 for 6 yards. But that's a lot of fabric. Yes?
What kind of trades do they teach the boys and the young men to do once they're able to work?
In Kinshasa, where there's the big city, like that is the capital city, they can go to school for different trades. Now, I spoke about Miriam's brother, Shako, who is 24 this year. And we continued to pay for him to go to school. You have to pay to go to public school. And when Miriam was little, he wasn't going to school because he was caring for her while their dad worked. And then their dad passed away, and then he went to live with his mother. Miriam came with us, a different mom. And so we continued to pay for him to go to school. So in November, he will graduate with his degree in electricity, because in Kinshasa, they do have electricity, and he can do that. But there's some great photographs that he has sent me on an app called WhatsApp, and he can send me some photographs of some of the connections and things that he's done. So I'm pretty proud of him to be able to do that. A lot of carpentry skills, masonry skills. They do make bricks by hand there in a mold. So if you're like at Miriam's table, they have like a clay brick with some cement mixed in, and they'll lay them all out. You'll see them laying all over the place, drying, and then they can build with that. Mostly hand skills. There are some technical jobs if you get into the city. Anybody else?
Susie, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
If I do without the microphone. So many people wish they could, and you do the things everyone wishes they could do. You make a big difference.
Thank you. I do want to remind you, though, that when you tell God some things, it's exactly what he's going to make you do. So I had told God during the 17 years that I was doing the Appalachian Service projects that I don't like to sweat. Okay, because we would go down there in Tennessee, it would be 110 degrees or whatever, and working on a roof, it's like a frying pan up there. But what does he do? Sends me the equator. So just be ready, because you don't know where God's going to call you. People, you say these things about me going to Congo, and I do love it, but the ministries that are being done here day after day are just every bit as important as me going to Congo. So but I thank you for supporting what we're doing there, because the United Methodist Church is really doing great things there. So thank you. Shall I go ahead and I'll go ahead and pray to dismiss? Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunities to serve no matter where we are. We thank you for being the God that you are and being the guide to guide us in the things that we do. We just pray that you'll continue to work with each of us in our futures, and we will make choices that you have opened the doors for. In Christ's name we pray, amen. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I really appreciate it.